Hello and welcome along to Aston Villa from the stands. Today we are going to be talking, of course, about Ipswich Town 2 versus Aston Villa 2. A game where I have labelled this as an Aston Villa missing a chance to go top of the league. We need to talk about the defensive frailties. Is this a systematic issue or is this a personnel issue? We're going to talk about Morgan Rogers, the impact he has on this side. We're going to talk about, of course, as well, the substitutions and none other than Mr. Stuart Atwell, the referee, because he was an absolute disgrace. But if you are watching this on replay, make sure that you smash a like, get in the comments as well. And of course, if you're watching live, then welcome in and welcome into everyone. We can see that we've got Alan, we've got Julia, and we've got Bloodbath in there as well. So listen up, we've got a lot to talk about. I am not happy with Aston Villa's performance in terms of Ipswich Town because for me, we are trying to encapsulate, we're trying to be the side that gets back-to-back top four. And games like yesterday were points in which I felt Aston Villa had to go on and get all three with. Second of all, the fact that we had actually turned it around from being 1-0 down is something I would expect us to kick on and do. So without further doubt, we are trying something different with this as well. Make sure you lock in. Let me know your feedback on how I present this and if it's something you want to see further forward, because we're going to go a little bit tacky in and out of this. And Ipswich 2, Aston Villa 2 today. These are the key points, as I said, we're going to discuss. Missing the chance to go top of the league, the defensive doubts creeping in, no Rogers, no reaction, and Mr. Stuart Atwell. And I don't usually like to talk or blame referees, but we need to talk about this guy and the impact that he potentially missed on having in that second half with Ipswich altogether. So these are the key points for today. Make sure you're locked in, make sure you're loaded, and hopefully you enjoy the content ahead. So let's go with this then. Let's see what's happening on this. First and foremost, here is the league table as it stands. Aston Villa 6 games in are 5th. And you can say, Josh, chill out. Chill out. You are only 2 points off top of the league. Why are you getting so irate? Why are you getting so annoyed that you've missed a chance to go top? I think for me, it is more the precedent that actually, if you look at what we had an opportunity presented to us, we had the chance to go above the likes of Manchester City and Arsenal, who for me gave us that little slipway, that little streamline. And when those opportunities come, you have to take them in this league. They very rarely present themselves. They very rarely open up these corridors. And for me, it's about going top, then staying top. And that is my philosophy and always has been my philosophy when it comes to this sort of action. So where and what does that mean? We go into an international break after the Manchester United game on the Sunday coming up. I like to see Aston Villa go into these international breaks in that top 4. And that, for me, is where we should be aiming at. So I look at this league table and say, listen, September's been a good month in terms of results. But when I talk about a big side mentality, when I talk about a team that is trying to go back into that top 4, this is exactly what we need to change. And this is exactly what needs to be better. So that's a quick one for me. The missed opportunity to go top is a psychological thing more than an absolute theoretical thing. Going top of the league would have sent a clear message to our rivals and a clear message going into the Manchester United game as well. So a little bit disappointed in that, especially in the manner in which we were able to go about yesterday's game. And that's the first one I want to talk about. Top sides, big sides, sides who are serious about competing at the highest level, don't miss out on those gaps and opportunities to go top. And you'll probably go, but Josh, you're going to see Man City and Arsenal miss chances to go top this season. Liverpool miss chances to go top. Don't get me wrong, that's probably going to happen. And those fan bases are going to have the same conversations. But if we are being real and if we're being realistic, for us to be where we want to be, we have to be keeping that same mindset and same energy. And I'm all about that. So there we go. But big up to Michael Huggins, said that the issue on Sunday was our mentality. I said all week that this was going to be a test on whether we could really move up a level. And I think mentality is exactly what I'm getting at here as well, Michael. That is exactly what I'm getting at here. The mentality going into this game was one in which we had to seize the moment and go joint top with Liverpool. That's all we needed to do. That's all we needed to do. And we failed at that opportunity. So You may agree, you may disagree. I'm still not complaining the fact that we're only 2 points off top. I'm not complaining that we're sat in 5th position. Do not take my words wrong. But what I am saying is, why, oh, why did we not do more, gain more on that one? So there's that first one there for you. Okay, so the second one that we're going to go on to today is about the defensive doubts that are creeping in. I really do appreciate everyone's interaction in the chat, and big up to everyone. Do feel free to comment on these points as well in the chat as we go along or on replay. Okay, so defensive doubts creeping in. I've got a big question in my head as to whether this is a systematic or personnel issue. Is it the system that Unai Emery is trying to use and trying to play at the moment that is causing us to have this defensive fragility? Or is it that we're really not using the right personnel at the time? And every time I sit there and ask people, what is your starting back four for Aston Villa? The two common theme and threads are forever present in this. And I think that actually we have to discuss that right now. Because the common themes and common threads that I always hear when it comes to what is Aston Villa's strongest back four, I always hear this partnership. Ezri Konsa and Pau Torres. And that is everything. That is everything that everyone always tells you. Konsa and Torres should be centre half. And I don't know if you guys would agree on that or disagree on that, or you still find a place in Diego Carlos, but it's coming apparent to me that Diego Carlos on the ball, his decision-making and being left vulnerable in 1v1 positions is something that is costing Aston Villa defensively. And that is why people have started asking these questions. Why are Aston Villa looking so defensively frail? And has this been a massive wake-up call for us as well? By the way, can you let me know in the chat if you did get a notification for this stream? It would be really useful to know and really handy to know as well. But going forward with that then, if we are talking about Pau Torres and Ezri Konsa going in as the centre-half partnership, then who on earth plays right back and why? Because that is something that I'm trying to work out myself. Kostan Ajolkovic clearly is not being backed in that position. Kostan Ajolkovic clearly is not being fancied at all by Unai Emery, despite him being the man that got the start. Despite him being the man that was used very early on in the season in our first two games, he's yet to appear. We've also done and used Bogard, which has failed. It has been a failed experiment. It has been a failed experiment. Lemaire Bogard at right back has failed. He's had his opportunities and Unai's seen enough to go, no, that doesn't work. So that then does only leave us with Ezri Konsa as the only man, the only person who can go in at right back. And that is where, again, we go back to the summer, we go back to January. Have we killed ourselves in terms of personnel at right back? And does this also show how important Matty Cash is for Aston Villa? Because with no Matty Cash at the helm and with no Matty Cash available, we really are having to play Ezri Konsa out of position. And I think Aston Villa fans can agree that yesterday was probably one of Ezri Konsa's worst games in possession and out of possession. And that was really something that was really apparent. And that Jack Clark, the Ipswich left winger, had an absolute field day. However, the systematic approach, and that is something, again, that this doesn't necessarily mean that Unai Emery is ever at fault for criticism. And this doesn't necessarily mean that we can ignore or not criticize Unai. But is the system stepped up correctly right now defensively for us to be able to be a lot more solid? And that is a question where actually, if I was to answer out loud, I think it's a crossover, chat. I think it's a crossover of actually its personnel, and not having the right personnel is meaning the system is not as solid as it could be. And you're going to see a graphic later on in this live stream that actually highlights where the system is hurting us, where the personnel is hurting us. Because we know that Unai Emery likes to push fullbacks on. We know that we've seen Luca Dean have an absolute field day on that left-hand side as Jacob Ramsey drifts in, Luca Dean bombs on, and it leaves Pau Torres and Diego Carlos, and then Konsa sometimes to push around. But yesterday, it was really clear that due to the pitch size of Portman Road, due to the way in which Ipswich were in their low block, Aston Villa had to rely on more width than usual. And Konsa and Luca Dean very much were higher and wider than as expected. And that left us vulnerable. It also meant that Onana and Yuri Tielemans' positioning was really key. And I felt that there wasn't enough protection coming through the middle of that pitch at times for Diego Carlos or for Pau Torres. A real clear example of that one was when Delap went through one-on-one in that first half, and Emi Martinez had to pull off a worldy save to deny him on that one-on-one, where he ran straight through the middle of the pitch. Opportunities and things like that was something that shouldn't be happening at that level of football. You should not be able to be carved open through the middle of the pitch as easy as that. And Michael was saying he doesn't want to get on any player, but I don't think Carlos can be trusted. He did not look bothered, and no problems with players making a mistake, but it's about the attitude, and that's interesting. Thank you, Michael. Alan, thank you for letting me know if you did get a notification for this. As always, as I asked, if you did get a notification for this, do let me know. Many fans need to give Cash more respect. Yes, we can see certain things, but at the moment, he's the best on that field. And I have been someone who's happy to sit and say, I have sometimes come in a little bit harshly on Matty Cash. I have come in a little bit too direct on Matty Cash and got angry at his one-on-one defensive attributes. But right now, Aston Villa have leaked too many goals in a systematic or personnel indifference. And that's why I want to ask you guys right now in the chat is, tell me right now, with the players available, what is your starting Aston Villa back four? Who is your four options that you will be choosing to represent that back four? Please do let me know. And finally, I want to say it again. This is not us going into panic mode about the fact that we are struggling as a side defensively just because we conceded 2 goals yesterday against Ipswich. No. Let's be realistic here. We conceded a soft belly goal against Wolves. We conceded 2 goals against Everton. We leaked 2 goals at home against Arsenal. And we have basically sometimes had to rely on Emi Martinez. It is without a shadow of doubt that without Emi Martinez yesterday, Ipswich could have scored a whole lot more. So that for me, this isn't just us panicking because Ipswich sort of took a point off us yesterday and something we're moaning and frustrating about. We have got a little bit of defensive fragility. And I'll finally say it one more time. Is this a systematic error? Or is this a personnel problem? Or is it both? But big up to the chat, as always. And make sure you smash that the like button as well for me, guys. Alan Evans says, too many players had an off day. Need a proper right back in there. Constant is this position. Give Dean a rest. Matson. And that's exactly where I think we're going to be coming to. Where a lot of people are saying, get Ezri Konsa back in centre-half with Powell. Get Costa in at right back. And I agree. I think we need to see Costa Nedeljkovic have a go. He had his chance against Wickham. Didn't do anything wrong, but wasn't able to light it up against Wickham. And I felt, again, that's an unfair opportunity to judge him. Ryan Thompson's gone Cash, Konsa, Powell, Luca Dean. We need a right back and another centre back. But of course, with no Matty Cash fit right now, this is where it comes to. And I can guarantee that no one will tell you or tell us or tell me that Bogard should be starting at right back. No way, Jose, would we be seeing that. So, look, it's interesting, that one. It really is. So that one's done. The defensive doubts creeping in. As I said, I'm trying something different with our layout in our presentation today. And this is something that I want to be more consistent of. Because as I've sort of said and want to sort of let people know as well, is that we are changing our work-life balance definitely to be able to basically do content every day on this channel going forward. And I'm taking it very seriously. So I'm trying to find a way, a niche that people enjoy, something that people can tune into. And hopefully this is something that you guys will enjoy. But yeah, just trying something a little bit more visual, a little bit different. And hopefully you guys like it. But British Maker said Ned should be starting, absolutely. For now, Michael's going Luca Dean, Torres, Konsa, and Nedeljkovic. And I think we all agree it's time for Ned. Now, something that I'm going to sort of talk about next is, and I've put it here as no Rodgers, no reaction. This comes in twofold, really, for me. This comes in 2 parts. Number one is, Without Morgan Rogers in the side, it was really clear to me yesterday that Aston Villa had no engine room. Aston Villa had no creativity. Aston Villa didn't have a ball carrier. And all of a sudden, it hit me slap in the face that Morgan Rogers is absolutely vital to Aston Villa's attack. We were toothless without him. We didn't have anyone brave enough to take on Ipswich. We were very static and passive. And I'm going, Jesus Christ, this guy's massive for us now. And I'm so glad that Rodgers, again, gets another number on his season. He gets his first Premier League goal. He's been coming up with assists. He's been producing the goods in that area, but he hasn't had his goal to back it. And again, him and Ollie Watkins, in that first half, especially for me, their combination play was beautiful. And there's such a strong partnership forming there. But as I said here, no Rodgers, no reaction. And then the second part of that is the reaction. The substitutes. And my God, Jaden Philogene, I want to scream at him. Jaden Philogene had the biggest opportunity presented to him yesterday and failed to take it. And that is something that Aston Villa substitutes have to do well this season, is take your chance, take your opportunity. And yes, Philogene's just come back from injury, and we can make a little bit of an excuse here or there. But that boy did nothing to impose himself on the game and nothing to try and tell Unai, here I am, I should be starting. And basically, it's just saying to me, well, it's Ramsey and Bailey. That's our wide players right now. So we're going to go into a bit more depth on that. So no Rodgers, no reaction. First of all, here are the substitutes and timing of it as well. Now, I don't know if you agree or disagree in the chat, but I felt that actually the timing of Ross Barkley should have been on so much earlier. I feel Ross Barkley should have been on the 64th minute as opposed to 20 minutes later. I felt Ross Barkley was someone, even in that, out of all the substitutes yesterday, Ross Barkley imposed himself the most on the game. And that for me is something. I want to know your thoughts on the substitutes, the timing of it. And there's a graphic I'm going to show you about John Duran in a minute, which is absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts when it comes to John Duran. And I will be showing you this in a second. But look, timing for me of those substitutes, those last three were almost pointless. And I was so frustrated that Ollie Watkins got taken off as well when we were chasing a goal. And I felt it almost summed up Villa yesterday, that we were slow and not reactionary enough in that second half. That's the best way to put it for me. I felt we were slow and not reactionary enough to the second half. And that goes for the team, the style of play, but also I think the management. I think I've praised Unai Emery a lot this season. I lauded him, but I felt yesterday it was a bit slow, those last three subs, and I don't know if you guys agree or not. Britt Smith in the chat has said, big up to you. To be fair, the buying game forced the subs early. He's well early on the subs. I think that when a couple of players have it on Wednesday. Look, I don't want us to become a club that is focusing on a game a couple of days later, because I know we have this unique scenario and situation that we do have Champions League, but I want to qualify for the Champions League again. And qualifying for the Champions League again means focusing on that Premier League competition and focusing on the game ahead. These substitutes with 6 minutes to go do not make sense. What does 6 minutes difference? What does 6 minutes difference give you to prepare for Wednesday? That's all I'm going to ask in the critical, crucial state of play. Having 6 minutes left does not change too much for me in terms of the mindset of a Wednesday game preparation. So that's why I'm a little bit confused about Unai yesterday. But yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting one. But yeah, I'm glad, Brett Smith, you agree on Philogene, and hope everyone as well in chat. Guys, make sure you smash the like button, and thank you for joining me as well. And if you are watching on replay, then big up to you as well if you're still here. Alan Ford says, Krim is saying, I agree with regards Barkley, Josh. It was obvious we were losing the midfield battle a lot earlier. I think just as well, not even losing it, but someone to give us intensity. I talked about it, and I said it earlier in the stream today. I've just talked about the fact that no Rodgers is massive for us in terms of someone who's a ball carrier, someone who's an enigma, someone who's positive going forward. I actually think Ross Barkley is someone who sits there and goes, do you know what? I'm ready to take this game to the scruff of the net. I'm ready to try and make penetrative passes. I'm ready to break lines. That's what Ross Barkley does. And even to epitomise it, Ross Barkley, if you remember, in his 6-minute cameo, even got the ball out of his feet and had that shot that had a bit of swerve on it, tested the keeper Muric, and Buendia wasn't quite there to tap him. But who else in the Aston Villa shirt did that? Picking up the ball, trying to shoot from distance, trying to test the keeper. And this is where I'm going, is that Ross Barkley, for me, actually gets it right now and is someone who seems to definitely want to take it on in that aspect and element. But yeah, I agree as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Wednesday. I think it's going to be a fantastic occasion against Bayern Munich, Michael. I just wish that we don't start using the we need to rotate or rest players excuse in the football club as a reason why we're making these changes. Go win the game ahead of you. And coming on for 10 minutes to give you no chance to get to game speed, I agree, Alan Ford. Kairos has got a bit of a hot take, but since Umar Aaron changed the build-up structure this season, I don't think we have or look played as well we did last. Now, this is the thing with Villa, and I would massively agree on that. Is that the good thing about us is we've still only lost one game in the Premier League. We've had we're unbeaten September, but we're not exactly playing well. We're not actually convincing. I think our final third play at times has been really convincing, really strong. But it's the defensive fragility, the defensive structure. When we lose the ball in transition, gosh, we're getting killed. We're getting absolutely killed on that. So it's an interesting one on that one, Cairo. And defensively anyway, absolutely. Alan has said defense is poor since we lost Kamara. It's a very good point. I think Kamara is going to be an absolute glue in there. And I think we're going to see his worth and value a lot. Yeah, and I do get that, British Mick. Our first UCL home game. I'm completely with you on that one. James Meakin, big up to you, was called off Barkley at halftime. Exactly that. And let's go back to this graphic one more time again. Ross Barkley had a grand total of 6 minutes plus the stoppage time. I actually thought the Buendia sub was pointless. Buendia isn't a like-for-like for Ollie Watkins. It's completely different. And essentially, this is again where I've got to question Unai, is that John Duran comes on for Rodgers and Jaden Philogene for Bailey. So we go two up top with Watkins and Duran. Okay, great. We need a goal. We want to go win the game. We were also 2-1 up at the time, by the way. Let's just look at that again. We were 2-1 up because Ipswich go and score their goal 8 minutes later. But we were 2-1 at the time when we went with two up front. Okay. We then go to 2-2, and Unai goes back to playing with just Duran as the sole striker and brings on Buendia. So you started the game with one striker. Mid-game change, you've gone on with two, and then you've reverted back to one. Just didn't seem very Unai and Villa-like to have to flip-flop like that, in my opinion. Big up to Chaz Kingdom. I think we played well in stages, but I don't think we played well overall. And this is what I keep saying about Villa, is that I can't wait for us to actually click. I can't wait for us to actually click into gear and click into the side that we can be of last season. But yeah, it's interesting on that one. But yeah, let's have a look then in the next slide that I've got presented. And thank you to everyone who's in here. And big up to AVFC Scout. I know that Luke on Up the Villa podcast works with AVF Scout a lot, and his work's brilliant. So please do check him out on X or Twitter, however you want to describe it. Brilliant creator in terms of graphics and statistics. But here it is right here. The second half average positions. I might even try and make that a bit bigger so you can all see it. Look at that. Here we go. Okay. Couple of things then that I want to talk about from this graphic chat. A couple of things we need to talk about. Okay. This is the second half because this is where we lost the game, in my opinion. Second half. We were 2-1 up and we didn't go looking for the third because these average positions, and I'm sorry, I should have had the first half positions for comparison. And that is really annoying that I don't have that. But trust me when I say this, that basically every Villa player has dropped 5 or 10 yards from the average first position of the first half. And that is a telling sight. I want you to then have a look at the following people. I want you to have a look at the fact that if you look at the gap between Pau and Diego Carlos, 14 and 3, okay? 14 and 3. The gap in there. Have a look as well at number 24, Onana, his average position, which his role and job, okay, is to protect by the looks of it and screen. Onana's job is basically to come into the gap between Pau and Diego Carlos. However, because of Onana's legginess, I felt in the second half, because of Onana having to make last-ditch tackles, that gap remained. But the biggest thing for me is where, well, two things. Look at Ezri Konsa, number 4. Where did Villa get killed in that second half? Jack Clark, Ipswich Town's left winger, had an absolute blinder against us. Him on that left-hand side tore Ezri apart. And it was where Ipswich got all their joy. And it's where Amari Hutchinson started drifting out to as well. It's where Delap for the second goal drifts out to. And that positioning of Ezri Konsa there is a real clear indication of how we got punished. He's way too high for me. Way too high. Or the other narrative is everyone else is way too deep and Ezri's in the right position. Jason says, Villa will regret not buying a decent CB in the summer. I agree on that. Cloudy says, Moreno wanted out, so left back was a necessity. Personally, I start Matt's and his quality. I think I'm on that one as well. One thing on Ipswich, by the way, and this is not an excuse, but their pitch is one of the narrowest pitches in the Prem, and exactly something I said, British Mick. But I also said on the watch-along yesterday, it's very similar to West Ham. Hence why Ipswich killed us in the wide areas, because Ezri Konsa had to offer that width. Okay. What else do you notice, though, with this graphic, chat? Well, there's two other really glaring things to me. Okay. Look at the average position. Look at the average position of number 31, Leon Bailey. And then look at the average position of his sub, number 19, Jayden Philogene. Jayden Philogene had zero impact in his, 25 to 30 minutes he had on the pitch. Jayden Philogene, his average position, contrasted to Leon Bailey in the second half, is everything I need to know about Aston Villa's impact of the subs and how deep we were. Philogene's way too deep there, especially if he's going like-for-like replacement. But the biggest one that you cannot ignore is why Duran had no impact on that game. The ones in yellow are the substitutes. Look at John Duran's average position in the second half, chat. In our own half. In our own half. In our own half. John Duran, average position, number 9, is similar to Onana in the second half. That's blown my mind. No wonder we couldn't get in the game. No wonder Duran had zero impact. No wonder we didn't have enough shots on their goal. Because John Duran's average position is in our own half. And I didn't realise that. I was focusing on the wide areas. I was focusing on the fullbacks. And dear, oh dear, that is insane. And that sums everything up I need to know about that second half performance. And that, for me, is where we lost the game. We didn't do enough in that second half to go and find the third. We clearly dropped, and again, I do apologise for not having the first half. We clearly dropped 10 yards backwards. Now, whether that was Ipswich's own doing or whether that was something tactical, that is massive. That's massive. That is absolutely massive. And I want to know, was that because of how well Ipswich played, or was that a tactical decision by Aston Villa themselves? And if it's a tactical one, then that cost us, in my opinion. And as British Make It saying, these are the sort of things I'm sure Unai Emery will be evaluating. He's not daft to know that second half was wrong. He's not daft to know that second half was absolutely wrong. And those average things take it. And yeah, we did let Ipswich control the game. We let Ipswich exploit the flanks. And that was hard to take. Got to start in Djokovic and put Konsa back at CB. I had a feeling Duran's exactly that. I think everyone's on that wavelength of getting Ezri Konsa back to his best position. Okay. So yeah, I agree on that, chat. So to summarize, basically, no Rodgers. We lose our metronome. We lose our creative spark. We lose essentially our driving force. But I also felt the substitutes, both the timing of the manager's substitutes, and of course as well the actual players themselves, especially Jayden and John, had very little impact on that. And that is something that first time this season, our squad depth and subs haven't delivered. And I want to go back to it. I'm not being reactionary here, but I'm being absolutely clear that there's been some wake-up calls or some alarms to suggest this was coming. We conceded goals way too easy, and or we've relied on our squad depth to do what it should be doing, which is come off the bench and change games. But we can't fall into the trap of always relying on it, okay? Final one then. Oh boy, this guy's going to get a roasting from me. This guy's going to get a roasting from me. It's Stuart Atwell. It's Stuart Atwell. Yeah. And it was James. It was the wrong game to play two strikers and lose someone in the midfield because of how narrow that pitch is. I want you to have a look at this. And let me just quickly remove the brand thing so you can see it clearly, okay? Booked Morsey got lucky as Atwell missed worst offences. Okay, this is Peter Walton, former Premier League referee. You don't have to always agree with these former Premier League refs, but I want to read this story here that he put in the papers today. Sam Morsey was incredibly lucky not to be sent off against Aston Villa. He committed 3 separate yellow card offences, but was booked only once by referee Stuart Atwell. If I had been referee, I'd been very disappointed to have missed the seriousness of both of the second half challenges that Morsey made while already on a yellow card. And the one in pitch in question is the one on Jadon Philogene that, if you can see clearly, is an absolute disgusting tackle over the top of his foot. And that was a big moment again in the game. And I don't like to blame referees, and I'm not here to stand and say we lost that game yesterday because of referees, but Stuart Atwell was an absolute joke yesterday. An absolute joke. A joke. Right? Sam Morsey was lucky. Absolutely lucky. And why is Sam Morsey such an interesting character in terms of what he is? Well, he's the Ipswich captain. He's a central midfielder. And he was someone who was brilliant at making those cynical fouls. He was someone who was tactically slowing Aston Villa down. And he somehow knew how to play Stuart Atwell, the referee. And I'm sorry, but if you go on and read about Stuart Atwell, he gets scathing reviews as a fast-track referee. But yeah, VAR could not intervene, of course, because they cannot step in over yellow card issues. And that's something else. It's not VAR this time. We're not actually moaning about VAR. We're moaning about the referee himself, who someone who had to make those decisions. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? That's where I'm at with it, is that actually we have to be honest and truthful that, yes, referees do tend to hide behind VAR and they can escape the criticism. But yesterday, Stuart Atwell lost grip of that game. He failed to take action on Sam Morsey. And the fact that Peter Walton, ex-referee, has come out and publicly said he's missed 3 yellow card offences, that annoys me. That annoys me. So, you know what? That's something that we have to address and we have to talk about in full. But yeah, big up to everyone in the chat. Just going through some of the comments. British minutes. In this case, we have no A-star right back, so it's about best case scenario. If you apply Carlos, you weaken the CB role and also play a CB at right back, hence weakening 2 positions. Of course, that is absolutely spot on, British mate. I couldn't agree more. Cloudy, we haven't played any good sides by Arsenal and we're down in every game and came back. Maybe we're just not quite clicking at the moment. Some type of thing, as last season, not doing enough to kill games. And second half yesterday was exactly that. We didn't go on and kill the game where we should have. And we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that. But look, that is the joy of, we've got 2 massive home games in Bayern Munich and, of course, Manchester United. I want to see us put in those performances, the clicking performances, the performances that make people go, wow, Aston Villa are cooking. And Aston Villa are really taking the Champions League and Premier League by storm again. And I think that's what Villa need, is those A-star performances now to go, this isn't just about results, because it is. And I don't want to be ironic in the sense of that, but it is a results-driven business. You don't get rewarded for how well you play. But I'm rating for Villa to sort of have both. Big up to Villa Forever podcast. Said the referee standards are shocking. I've direct messaged you, mate. We'd love to get on a show. Just let me know when you're free. I will definitely check that out. Sorry, Villa Forever podcast, and 100% always keen to jump on with Villa supporters and pods. Absolutely. Jason said, need Kamara about ASAP and firing. I agree. And we also missed Tyrone Mings. But yeah, the ref was awful. Morthy's lucky to have played 90 minutes yesterday. And it has to be a talking point. But look, overall, to sort of wrap up and conclude, where am I at with this? This is where I'm at with it. I feel like Aston Villa yesterday, as I sort of mentioned at the start, with the league table, missed a key, glorious opportunity to go top of the league. I don't care if it's joint top. I don't care if it's Liverpool top and Villa second because of goal difference. Let's just talk real here. Same amount of points as Liverpool. To be top is massive. It's a psychological warfare, this Premier League. It is all about up here. It is all about sending messages. Man City now, with no Rodri, all of a sudden it's psychologically City are weaker. All of a sudden Man City go 2 games without 2 wins. All of a sudden people go, there's a wobble at Man City. Psychological warfare. Arsenal grind out that result against City. Arsenal come from behind and beat Leicester City in stoppage time. It's psychologically important. And where we're at psychologically now, the narrative of Villa is Villa missed chance to go top, bottle it against Ipswich after coming behind and throwing away a lead. We all know that the sensible nature in this is that we're 5th, we're 2 points off top, things are good, we're not even clicking yet, and we are going to click. However, it is psychological warfare, this Premier League. And I don't want anyone getting the psychological advantage over us. And we need to find a way to either keep grinding out results by playing crap, which I say crap, not the standards we expect, or are we going to go try and play pretty expansion football, get results a lot of the time, but also have moments like Brighton, who absolutely are kamikaze football. Up here now is where it matters. From Unai Emery to Emi Martinez in goal, who has made a few mistakes, but also made some big saves, to the midfield, to all the way up to Ollie Watkins, to the fan base. Let's get on that page. Let's get together. Let's make sure we are driving the standards to make sure we finish top 4. I think we'll beat Bayern. I'm more right than wrong. Bayern have a ridiculous high press. Unai can ask for a better line. Exactly that. I watched a bit of them versus Bayer Leverkusen. Wow. The spacing behind is crazy. Absolutely crazy what Bayern leave. Jason says they need to cut the mistakes. Philly Fly Boxing totally agrees. Chaz says he misses Diaby. And Philly says defense worrying. Big up to my man Curve. Unfortunately, Villa are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. And I think I exactly know what you're on about in terms of the playing styles and how you go about this league. But listen, it is a psychological warfare, this Premier League, as I keep saying. How are Aston Villa going to fare? I'll say this again. I want Villa to be in a position where we go into the international break, which is after the Man United game, come this weekend, okay, in that top 4 position. I want us to be there, the big boys, whether it's a point or 2 points off them, or level, or above them. Let's make sure we're there. Massive week ahead for Villa. I will be going live again this week for various things. I will be going live tomorrow to do a Champions League preview. My thoughts upon Bayern Munich. We're going to touch on Bayern Munich a lot more tomorrow, so please do lock in and load for that. We're also going to be going live, of course, as well on Wednesday for the watch-along of Bayern Munich and Aston Villa. And then Thursday, hopefully, I've got Luke Robinson from Up the Villa who's going to come on with me, and we'll be talking all things like today about the Bayern next game. So, as I said, we're going to try and deliver content. I actually really appreciate everyone who's coming out here supporting the channel. We're going to be more consistent for you guys, bringing you the content and this analysis. And I hope you enjoyed the sort of PowerPoint visuals today. Something a little bit different, something I've never tried. But hopefully you enjoyed doing that as well. And of course, you guys know that this is a big week for Villa. Champions League markers. Bayern Munich at home. Let's send a message to the world. Let's send a message to Europe that Villa are not here just to take part. We're here to compete in the Champions League. And then let's make sure we bloody put a nail in Manchester United and Ten Hag's coffin for him to get sacked. Make sure Villa are the last team that United play before he goes by putting in a big performance against them. But yeah, I don't know. I think Man United's a weird side. We're crap against Man United usually in the past, and who knows what's going to happen with them. But look, listen, if you do enjoy my content and you want to do a bit of a watch long tonight, or you're not doing much, then please do check out our Big Up channel. We're going to be doing Bournemouth, Southampton. I'm going to be a little bit of a nerd, and I'm going to be playing with a tactics board live on that and showing you what you're seeing, because I love doing that sort of stuff. So if you want a watch along for Bournemouth versus Southampton, which kicks off at 8 o'clock. By the way, Southampton plays some fantastic football. It's just absolutely crazy sometimes the way they play out from the back. And please do come and support the Big Up channel. I would love one of you to come over and try it out for the first time tonight. Indeed. Cloudy 10, I think we used to buy it, we're not switched on. It could be dust in half an hour. I do get that one. I do get that. We have to be on it like a car bonnet. But let's see what happens. And yeah, I want to see us do Bayern over. So tomorrow is the Bayern Munich preview. Of course, the watch along on Wednesday, and then Thursday will be the recap. This is Aston Villa from the stands. We're going to be bringing you as much Aston Villa content now because we've changed things up in our personal life to make sure it's going to be happening a lot more. Big up to Krim, big up to British Mick, big up to Cloudy, to Jason, to Philly, to Chaz, to Curve, to James Meakin, to Villa Forever podcast. For everyone else who's been in the chat, listening in or talking, I really do appreciate it. Make sure you drop yourself a like on the way out of here, and I'll see you all, hopefully, on Big Up for a watch along. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. Lads, lasses, take care. Big up you guys. Ta-da.